Hey guys, I'm going to talk about your assignments this week for U.S. history. So we're going to be starting with the 26th because technically the 25th is still a day reserved for midterms. So I'm not assigning anything for the 25th, but let's start with the 26th. So for Tuesday, I want you to watch the two ed puzzles that I have posted in your class for U.S. history about the railroad. So that's going to be this one. It talks about how the railroad came to the Great Plains, specifically talking about the Transcontinental Railroad, the railroad that connected the whole nation with one another. And then this second one, which is a crash course, it's about railroads in the industrial age. And it really goes into how railroads impacted culture and how the United States changed forever with the introduction of the Transcontinental Railroad. So after you watch those two ed puzzle videos, I want you to write a brief reflection, which is about 5 sentences. And when I say reflection, I mean your thoughts on the difference between change and progress. Because we see with the arrival of the railroads, we see progress, but that doesn't necessarily equal change. Sometimes change brings progress, but sometimes it doesn't. And in the crash course video, it goes into a little bit about that. So if you have trouble with that, go back to the crash course video on railroads and watch it again. And if you still have trouble, then email me and I'll help you out with the question. Okay, so let's look at what I want you to do for the 27th. I want you to just do a little bit of reading, just pages 272 to 276, and then I want you to write 10 facts from your reading. That section's going to really be talking about just the western frontier, and it's going to talk about life on the western frontier for the settlers, and it was very difficult. So people who went on the Oregon Trail and who traveled west were incredibly brave. So that's going to be contrasted with the assignment for the 28th, which is going to be about the Native Americans, and that is the assignment in which you're going to be looking at what it was like to be a Native American on the Great Plains, what their life was like. I picked out 2 videos for you to watch. They're on Edpuzzle as well, posted. I'm just going to show you what they look like so you know what you're looking for. But the first one is talking about life, how it was to live and hunt and make clothing and different things like that as a Native American on the Great Plains. And then the second one is talking about a segment of the Indian Wars, specifically Custer's Last Stand. But I want to just point out, oops, that's a test there. Okay, we're back on the assignment page. I just want to point out here that in the video about Native Americans, it does sort of cast the American settlers who are traveling west in a negative light, because it just really focuses on the fact that the Native Americans are losing their land. And certainly it's true that Native Americans lost land, but I do want to point out that not all settlers coming west were evil. Not all of them hated Native Americans. Some just, wanted a better life. They weren't doing very well on the East Coast, so they thought maybe the West Coast would do better. So it's really important not to paint history with a strong black and white brush, because there are lots of nuances, and it's important to study out the nuances before you make an opinion for one side or the other. So yes, the United States did have a hand in taking Native American land, but a lot of that land was sold by the Native Americans, and although it's true that some of it was sort of cheated away from the Native Americans. But it's important to recognize that it's something that happened. We have to say, yes, it happened, but we are not responsible for it. We live over 100 years later, almost 200 years later, and so we're not responsible for it, but we do have to say, yes, it happened. All right, so then for the last day, Friday, the 29th, I want you to read pages 280 to 282 and complete the section review on page 280. Now that is a huge section review. It actually starts all the way back on page 270. So you'll find answers from 270 to 282. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.